Daryl Duke has proven himself to be a director respected around the world. Known best for his work on the miniseries Thorn Birds and the feature film Tai-Pan, he's won many awards, including the Best Canadian Director for The Silent Partner. He got his start at the National Film Board, and his television career took off at the CBC. Among the many shows Daryl Duke has directed include the late 50s classics Close Up and Quest, The Steve Allen Show in Los Angeles, Canada's first detective series, Wojak. He also created Vancouver's first film unit. Then in 1975, Daryl bought his own TV station, CKVU, in his hometown of Vancouver, 23 years after joining the CBC.
My parents were, and grandparents were, a really extraordinary lot. They'd come to BC at the turn of the century. Then my mother and uncle were actors and actresses and played Shakespeare and played all sorts of roles. In fact, my mother, when she was pregnant with me, was on one of the first radio plays out of Vancouver on a station that was to become the CBC.
So it's fair to say that you were never destined, because of your upbringing, to be a heavy-duty equipment operator.
Well, you can't always say that surrounding somebody by books and good conversation is going to produce any desired result, but and there's nothing wrong with being a heavy equipment operator, but they certainly surrounded me with everything that led towards the arts.
From 46 to 50, you were off to UBC. Were those important years for you?
Yeah, years of that you never have that sort of opportunity again, where the world opens up to you. And I think one of the most momentous things, I was taking English and philosophy, was meeting Earl Burney, the Canadian poet. And he had started a creative writing class. And he got me to send these poems to magazines across Canada, little poetry magazines and stuff. And I didn't have the confidence even to do that. And I said, look, my stuff's not going to compete with that. And he said, get it out there. And he said, that's all that matters, get it out there. Well, lo and behold, I got published, and I couldn't believe it. And out of the sky came a letter from the National Film Board of Canada, and a producer, who I'll always be grateful to, Guy Glover. He wrote me a letter saying he'd read my poetry, and it had a great visual sense, and had I ever thought of working in film, and was I open to being interviewed? Well, it was like, you know, as I say, money dropping out of the skies.
In the first days of CBUT, Daryl was hired to produce the very first program ever shown, the official sign-on ceremonies. It was all pretty heady stuff.
There was a big party in the studio, the main studio, a huge party. The mayor was there, Peter MacDonald, head of the CBC for the region, pushing a button, and he had earphones on. But nobody in the news media or anywhere else knew that this button was just a total phony, that it ran, the wire ran under the table to nothing, right? And I was giving him his cue from upstairs in Telecine. But everybody got very drunk, and big euphoria. The station was signed on. The first television comes to the West Coast. But then we all woke up the next morning and went, my God, we've got to do it again tonight, and tomorrow night, and the next night, and the night after that. But it was very exciting. So by the time the studios were ready, I started the CBC's first 7 o'clock programming called Almanac, with Bill Bellman and Alan Miller and Bob Fortune, who became the weatherman for years and years. Right. I did an hour variety show called Parade, and that was with Eleanor Collins and Thelma Gibson and Don Franks and a whole gang, Barney Potts. And I did a folk song special called The Roving Gambler, which became the pilot for a long-running CBC series that I know people will remember called Lolly Toodum. Then and then I did the first drama from there, which was a Joseph Conrad short story called An Outpost of Progress, which was in the studio. And it was the first drama I'd ever done. And it was exhilarating, you know, just to create that magic. Because I'd come from documentaries and been doing information shows, and to suddenly be able to get a very good set designer and create illusion and light and shade and illusion and emotion within the studio and within the frame on camera was a very exciting moment in my life. I've always seen the world with a frame around it, you know, and I guess I just think setups, and I think, you know, over-the-shoulder shots or two shots or close-ups or tracking shots or whatever. That's how I see things. So it never seemed to me a problem to stage something and actors are my favorite people, so I enjoy actors. And so it never occurred to me that was something that wasn't totally natural to do and totally exciting to do. And there's nothing more exciting at the end of a day than to have got a scene on film that has really worked. You know, whether it's a lot with explosions and gunfire and everything, or a very intimate, emotional scene that really works. That's one of the most satisfying things you can do. You know, at the end of Thorn Birds, after shooting for 124 days and being as close as a family to that crew and that cast, there comes a moment you take the last shot and you try and extend the moment and then extend it, but you can't extend it forever. You have to say, guys, that's a wrap.
Daryl is spending the summer adapting a Japanese short story for release as a movie.
Next week, I'll talk to the elegant Iona Campagnola and hi to artist Bill Reed, then and now.
And I'll mix words with one of BC's best-known faces, Mike Winlaw, and sports legend Babe Pratt.
And I sit down with the Rhythm Pals and talk about old times.
We're going to close with a segment of Daryl Duke's 1954 variety TV series, Parade.
Ooh.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Like hopping up and down like a kangaroo, climbing fences, jumping trees, don't matter to me, it's what I do. The big day, once a year, everyone is smiling.